Joe, big rivalry game in the Big Ten this weekend as Michigan takes on Michigan State. Oh, boy. Can I tell you, before we get to this, can I tell you what I did all day today? I watched every bit of game film of Michigan State this week, or today, excuse me. Oh, this one's going to be interesting. But Michigan versus Michigan State, what are your thoughts on the game?
Line is 14.5 for Michigan on FanDuel. Blake, as you said, also someone asked at the beginning of the show, why the hell are we talking about this game? There's not really a lot of like good premier top matchups. There's a bunch of solid games in the Big 12 with some teams that have good records because they haven't played anybody. This game always ends up being contentious because these two teams and the rivalry that they have, which is why I wanted to talk about it. The problem is, though, just talking about this game, Michigan State has been extremely, extremely underwhelming. The one redeeming quality that they have is Aidan Chiles. Aidan Chiles is a tremendous athlete, and he keeps any drive alive because he is elusive. He's got a good arm. Does not have many people to throw to. He makes their offense a little bit above average. Their defense, awful. It is below 100th in most EPA metrics and success rate metrics that we look at. They can't stop anything. They couldn't stop UCLA. Hence, I do not think that they're going to be able to stop Bryce Underwood and Marsh and Justice Haynes with all the success that they're currently having.
I got one slogan for this game. Are you ready?
Okay, what do you got?
Let Bryce loose. Let Bryce loose.
He's been loose.
Not the way that he needs to be let loose. Joe, this Michigan State team is not good at all. As I told you to start off the segment, I watched more Michigan State film than I thought that I would this week. And I just got to tell you, brother and sisters in Christ, this secondary is god-awful. It is god-awful. Joe, they are getting lost in man coverage. You have multiple times where one side of the field is running quarters, the other one's running cover two. You have safeties that are up in the box when it's third and 7, 3rd and 8. You have so much chaos surrounding their secondary. I am speechless. I have no idea what they're doing. I think Aidan Chiles has been good with what he's had. They have not been bad in run defense. They're 52nd in the country in run defense. They've been about average. They haven't been great, but that secondary has been god-awful. Michigan's not necessarily the team that can come in there and throw the ball all around on you. They're just not. So there is that. But, man, their defense, and I know a lot of people around Michigan State's talking about how bad their defense has been. Here's the thing. They're worse offensively. I don't know the logic in some of the situations when I watch Michigan State, what Jonathan Smith and company are doing. I don't think that they have an identity. I don't know if they have a path. I think they're putting Aidan Chiles in very, very incomprehensible situations that a young quarterback who is learning has no business being a part of. Aidan Chiles has got to go. If he wants his development to grow, he's got to get away from this situation. Look, I'm not saying that I think Jonathan Smith and company, like they're all bad coaches, but Joe, think about this. They're 106th in the country in rushing offense, 106th in the country in total offense. They're 86th in the country in passing offense. They're 88th in the country in total defense. They're 109th in the country in pass defense, and they're tied for 119th in the country in scoring defense. They have more things that they're in the hundreds, like you mentioned earlier, than they are anywhere remotely close to being average. There's not a lot that they do well. There's a lot. I think I see playmakers. I see some good athletes. They're not putting their athletes in the right places to be able to achieve what they need to achieve. I think Michigan goes into this game. I do think even though the run defense hasn't been bad, that they can run the ball on them. They can't stop anybody in the red zone. They're one of the worst teams in the country in the red zone. And, Joe, they're giving up 30-plus points a game. I think this Michigan team goes in there and leans on them. And I know it's a rivalry game, and I hate I despise, and I'm going to break my one rule. I always say rivalry games are going to be close. This Michigan State team is god-awful. And if it's close, then God bless Michigan, because this one, it should never be, and God forbid you lose. They are god-awful, and you better run them out of the building.
That's a very good point. And that's why previewing this is not out of the realm of rationally talking about this game, because this game is expected to find a way to be close. Just in the history of the rivalry, it has produced some iconic moments. It's really disappointing to see that in year 2, Jonathan Smith, that this is what he's producing.
It
seems not good.
Bad,
it is
so bad,
pathetically bad. And the way that they played against Indiana looked incredibly lifeless. One big thing for me when I was watching back that game, there was so much time for Mendoza in the pocket against Indiana. God. And you can't allow for that much space for Bryce Underwood to operate. That would be super not even deadly for that to happen.
That's not the worst one. The Nico Iamaleava scramble is the worst tackling performance I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, they got completely dogged by Nico, and I think that the same thing is going to happen here for Bryce Underwood. I have to just kind of toss in here just to give a little bit of praise to this Michigan team. I really like this Andrew Marsh kid. The more that I watch of him and the more that he's gotten more opportunities to contribute, the more that I feel like Michigan's
Underwood's dude, man. That's Underwood's dude.
He's barely played up until the past couple of weeks since they started to activate him and let him play more. He's got 297 yards, which is already second on the team. He's got 2 touchdowns, tied for first on the team. He's averaging 14.85 yards per play, and he has a 90% catch rate. This kid's a freshman. Dude, I'm telling you, I don't know what Michigan
State was ridiculous.
I don't think, he had a couple of ridiculous plays last week against Washington. I have no idea. Actually, I do have an idea. I don't think that Michigan's a playoff team, because I think it's a lot to ask Michigan to win this year against this Ohio State team, but never say never considering what happened last year. Wow. Having Andrew Marsh emerge the way that he is makes me feel better than I did previously, because the biggest issue that they had was nothing on defense. The defense is a little bit less talented than last year, but it's still well coached and physical, and nothing to do with Bryce Underwood. It had nothing to do with their offensive line that has only allowed 9 sacks on the season. It had everything to do with the fact
four of them, if I'm not mistaken, came against Oklahoma.
Yeah, exactly. They are not giving up sacks so far this season in Big Ten play. It had everything to do with the fact that we were worried that they didn't have any juice outside, and while McCulley has been the more reliable player, the emergence of Marsh actually creates a dangerous passing attack. Let's see what happens over the next couple of weeks, but I'll say that this is pretty promising.
I like the way that they're building. I think that from a Michigan standpoint, they got to get some more weapons for Bryce, and I think we all know that. If you're asking me in a perfect world what happens for Michigan in this game, is that can the score be a little closer than maybe people are thinking? Yes. I'm letting Bryce – I'm not saying go away from your run game. It's not what I'm trying to say. Don't go away from your identity. However, these are the type of games and situations in a rivalry game where you can legitimately open things up completely for him. And listen, you got to find out where you're at some time. I thought that they got more open with things when Sherrone Moore wasn't there. Now Sherrone's kind of, moving along a little bit here. You're right with Marsh, and that's Underwood's dude, and we'll continue to see. But listen, there's no way that after all the games that I watched from Michigan State today, there's no way in blue hell that this should be close. Look, I thought UCLA was the worst P4 team I saw outside of Oklahoma State before they made a move. Joe, I get it. I'm not saying they don't do anything well or good, that they don't have some good players here and there. But, man, I don't understand anything that they're doing, and I'm going to take Michigan in the points.
Yeah, 14.5 is kind of – what did I say it was? It was 14 and a half. Dude, I might –
I were betting the game.
That too on FanDuel.
Well, if I were betting the game, stand by. If I were betting the game, I'd buy a point. I don't like the 14.5. I would try to get it to 13.5 if it were me. That's just me. But I don't care. I don't care about buying a point and taking the odds on it. But I think if you gave me a lock of a week of a team that's winning, it's this one. I think I saw one of the worst.
I'm really shocked that the line is this close. That one of those lines this week where it's like, really? Only a little bit more than a two-score
We got to give our partners at FanDuel a lot of credit. The lines that they had last week were almost damn near spot on.
I don't disagree with that, but my personal bets, I only got 2 wrong. I went. I think it was 7 for 9 last week. It was my best week that I've had after I went through a bit of a bloodbath. But I took some money from FanDuel this past week.
I did as well.